AskReddit by Fuck and Frolic. What is far more rare than people realize? Tetanus. We get vaccines for it, but it's actually a bit harder to get than you may believe. That's good. But the disease itself is so horrible you don't want to give it any chance. People who remain friends with you once you leave school. I would expand this to actual friends opposed to just convenient people to socialize with. Blimps. I live in Northeast Ohio near the Goodyear hangar. We see them all the time. I had to pull up a list that Northeast Ohio has 3 out of 4 operating Goodyear blimps named Wingfoot 1, 2 and 3. Only maybe 12 are operating anywhere in the world, with a total of 25 existing at all. But we see them all the time at Wingfoot Lake Disc Golf Course. Edit. Helium-filled semi-rigid airships. Okay, so I've got a rookie question. Let's say there's a need for one in Arizona for an event. Does the crew fly it there from Ohio, or do they deflate it, load it into a truck, and re-inflate it near the event? Green eyes make up just 2% of the global population. But like 40% of fictional characters, lol. Northern Lights. The amount of people I've heard say, "We've come all this way, what time do they come on?" is staggering. Growing up, I'd see light pillars in the sky sometimes. Until recently, I thought that they were the Northern Lights. Almost as rare and pretty neat. https://en.m.wikipedia.org/wiki/light_pillar. Bit of peace and fucking quiet. To the motherfucking men. Serial killers. I had a coworker who interacted with 2 of them. He grew up in Anchorage and used to buy donuts from Robert Hanson's bakery fairly routinely. Said to this day that man made the best apple fritters he'd ever eaten, and he drove city bus and swore he ran into Israel Keys a couple times downtown. My dad is convinced he bumped shoulders with Israel Keys outside a bar one time. Said that was singularly the scariest person he'd ever seen. Nothing to in his eyes, nothing going on in his face. The percentage of people with eating disorders that are underweight, 5% of suffers. The comments are proving your point. Heroin. It's pretty much all fentanyl and xylazine at this point. Source: Am Addictions Counselor. Stay safe out there, kids. Do you mean pure heroin is rare, or are you saying most people are taking pure fent and xylaz thinking it's heroin? Both a disturbing thought. We have a male tortoiseshell cat. Cat people tend to know they're quite rare, but others probably don't. He really is a rarity in this world. Calicos are almost always females as well. I learned this in genetics class. Apparently male calicos and male torties are sterile because they have an extra chromosome. Edit. Correction about infertility. Male calicos can happen when a male cat has 2 X chromosomes, Klinefelter syndrome, with XX chromosomes, and generally they are sterile. Fertility. Humility and an understanding that we're sometimes the victim and sometimes the perpetrator. No one is ever just one or the other. We will always be the villain in someone else's story. An ungroped bottom at the BBC. Deaths from nuclear power. Pollution from coal power kills more people every day than nuclear power has in its entire history. Being a multimillionaire. Lots of people faking it out here. I worked at a hair salon that was full of them as clientele. It was so pathetic listening to these bored housewives constantly one-upping each other about what trips they were taking and with who. Then it would inevitably come out that they were living well beyond their means and file for bankruptcy. Helium. On Earth. It's weird because helium is the second most abundant element in the universe. Critical thinking skills. Yes. And most people think that having this is to be able to criticize something, For example, well, that sounds stupid, 73% is not that much, so that the idea is just to be resistant to information. What it really is to be able to compare ideas objectively, based on best available information and data, which now and always will be incomplete, and make your assessments based on that. Clean water. My son and I have been discussing this lately. He is a chemical engineer and works exclusively with water. Many of the studies he has been published on also have to do with clean water and forever chemicals. Water is a huge issue that is becoming bigger every day and normal people are forgetting about it. Flint, Michigan is in year 9. Fellow team here. This is absolutely true. I went to college in the American West where water was a precious commodity. I now work in surface water quality compliance on the east coast of America and it baffles me how flippant we are in the east with water quality. A stable, loving, peaceful domestic life. To add to this, being raised in one as well. I have only recently started to realize how lucky I was to be raised mostly with my mom's family. They all genuinely love each other and get along. There's little arguments here and there, but nothing even so bad as typically sitcom stuff. Having a huge support structure just makes any challenges in life a little bit easier to weather. If I could share anything with the world, it would be how much it helps to just genuinely care for others and have them care for you. People giving out drugs with Halloween candy. The only time this ever happened was when a father purposely put poison in his kid's candy. It wasn't a stranger. But, honest friends who don't have ulterior motives. The ones that genuinely enjoy your company and friendship. Hold on to them. I have spent so much of my life focusing on the not great ones. Once I had a realization of what a good friend is, I was dismayed to find how few I actually had. Now I am incredibly grateful to have those wonderful people in my life. Absolute silence and being in a place where no man-made light exists. Toured a cave once where the guide had us all stand still and turned out all illumination in the cave. That's a darkness and silence you'll never forget. People in genuinely happy, healthy, well-adjusted relationships. A good upbringing. If you look at the stories of very successful individuals, most of it comes from the simple fact that they had good parental figures and role models. Imagine actually being prepared for adulthood. That shit's OP as fuck. Gold. All the gold I've mined in the world would fit in a cube less than 70 feet on each side. This didn't sound like much to me at first, but after a minute of thinking about it, that would be a huge fucking cube. Floor being lava. My goodness, was that a big concern of mine growing up. That and quicksand around every corner. Quicksand was a real concern and I feel lied to. Twins. If we accept that every story on the Ataverse is true, then having twins is clearly the catalyst for some truly awful, antisocial behavior. There is a town in Brazil, Cândido Godoy, that has the highest rate of twins in the world. They are pretty ethnically homogeneous, of German descent. Nobody really knows why. Nor why they are so ethnically German, nor why there are so many twins. Some people say Mengele was there, as he was known to have been somewhere in the region. They say he had something to do with it. It's also known that the city was founded by a few people, so it could be a genetic bottleneck effect. Nearly half of them are monozygotic twins. Which is crazy cause we have an idea that fraternal twins can be genetic due to hyperovulation. Trippy stuff. Genuine kindness with no ulterior motive. That's really sad. I try my hardest to teach my kids to be good and kind without expecting things in return. 2 years in a row they've given up Christmas gifts in order to donate that money doing the angel trees. I feel like I'm doing something right. Real friends. How many of us? The level of patience I must display on a daily basis with the general public. True love. Wait, what did you say? You distinctly said, to blave. And as we all know, to blave means to bluff. Huh. So you were probably playing cards, and he cheated. Empathy. When people want to and are able to understand the experience of another human being, without projection of own ideas and experiences onto others. Also, empathy doesn't equal sympathy or kindness. You can have a very low sense of empathy yet still be kind and considerate. Man-to-man compliments. I remember about my 7th grade year. It was probably 1994. Me and my friends started telling each other we love you, man. Being good friends with a other dude and telling them you love them. That is more rare than anything. We got obnoxious. We just kept telling each other, bro, I love you. No, bro, I love you more. No, bro, you're the fucking man more than me. It was so silly, but still today I think about it and smile. I still miss and love my boys. I try to compliment men and tell them they are killing it as much as I can. Any compliment is amazing. I usually do some dumb shit like, damn bro, you're killing it. Self-awareness. Dissociative identity disorder. People who have the patience and desire to accommodate the needs of the disabled. Ask me how I know. I had to temporarily use a wheelchair in college. I went to the mall one day. Hollister's entrance had a fucking step for no fucking reason other than to be different, and they had put a table display in front of the wheelchair entrance. Someone saw me by the wheelchair entrance, looking inside, and went and shouted at a manager on my behalf. To this day I feel that the manager deserved it. She didn't build the step, but that display in front of the wheelchair access was totally on her. Kids getting kidnapped by random strangers in public. My parents always acted like every adult on the street was a potential abductor and that child kidnapping was rampant, but I never knew anyone who actually got kidnapped, and the statistics really don't back up their level of anxiety. I'm in my mid-20s now, and they still act like I'm gonna get attacked by some rando on the street at any moment. Based on personal experience and statistical evidence, I am much more afraid of violence from those I am close to than I am of strangers. Trees. We're the only planet that we know that has them, thus making them rarer than diamonds in the universe. You can say this about any living organism, lol. Having loving and supportive parents and a good home life growing up. I think this stereotype is pushed a lot by Hollywood and TV, because writers tend to be people whose creativity was nurtured by their supportive parents and they write what they know. It's why almost every family on TV lives in a picturesque suburbia, maybe with a pool, 2 loving parents and a comfortable life. Interesting take that kinda correlates to what I think, meeting a lot of people in the music scene who have actually had some level of success. There's always supportive parents behind it. My parents would only support things they approved of and my style was too far out for them. Finding a soulmate. Fuck soulmates, I love you on purpose. Women achieving orgasm from penetration alone. A true friend who is always honest, genuine and shows how much they care. Loving our life and the body we get to live it in. Stranger danger, children being kidnapped by strangers. It's usually by someone they know. Integrity. This is a real answer. It shocks me how many people have the as long as no one is looking attitude. Sure, some may take the big things seriously, but when it comes to having integrity in their day-to-day life, they'll do anything as long as it's convenient for them. Affordable housing. A loving relationship that alone puts you ahead of 99% of the world and pretty much every billionaire. Very few people get to experience that. I have a treasure at home and that affects all things in my life because suddenly it's not so stressful. I've started growing a bit anxious over this. I've recently scored very warm and loving platonic relationships to the point of sometimes feeling euphoria when with them. Deep connection and affection I haven't felt even in romantic relationships. Now I've tasted what it could be like to have a soulmate. To have that euphoric feeling every day with the other person. To have fun, warmth, brain stimulus and peace in a relationship. I find it very improbable that I'm able to provide that to someone while they are returning the favor. It's rare to click with anyone in a deep way, and even more rare for both to feel the same way. Deleted. I saw something doing the math with how many times he was likely to see his dad alive again. It stuck with me. It seems like a decent amount, if a little small. But if you keep track, and see it going down. https://bigthink.com/how-many-times-will-you-see-your-parents-before-they-die. An honest politician. Functional families. Growing up, excluding relatives, almost all of my friends never ate dinner with their family. As in everyone sits together, eats, and talks about their day. Listening. Mostly people want to talk but not listen.